Hey everybody, welcome back to On the Line. It's Tuesday, September 19th, and we're back for another episode featuring the top storylines in high school cross country. I'm Cory Mull here with Ashley Tishins. On today's show, we'll tackle Woodbridge, 3 big meets from the weekend, our picks for national contenders at this point in time, and our national meet of the week, which is the Wingfoot XC Classic. As always, if you listen to our show, make sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Let's jump into it for starters. And Ashley, it was hard to start with anything other than Woodbridge this weekend. Yes. Biggest meet on the calendar, fast times, a little controversial at the start, but other good things happened on Saturday. But let's start first with the course. There were some issues with the distance on Friday that was resolved on Saturday. What are your feelings on the 3-mile course running longer on Friday?
Okay, so I know this is, like you said, very controversial, and I have some interesting opinions, I feel like. And it may not be the right opinion, but I get it. You want to go to Woodbridge, to run a really fast 3-mile. Like, that's the whole point. You go there, that's why you bring your team. You're going to race against the top athletes. Like, you want to run a fast 3-mile. I get they've, moved the course around and stuff, but, the fact that they already ran it on Friday, athletes already competed on this course. Yes, it was closer to 5K, it seems like, was it 3.07 or something like that?
3.079.
Gotcha.
I think, yeah.
I feel like you can't then go back, even though, yes, you have the sweepstakes races, the high-profile meets or races on Saturday. I feel like it's just not fair to go back and then change it. I get why they did it, because they want, they want to kind of own up on that promise, hey, you're going to come here and run really fast, but I also don't feel like it's fair to have the competition already start and then the next day you go change it.
Yeah, I get that. I think most people get both sides of it. It's a gray area here. I think when you make a mistake and you admit to it and you try to make amends, I think that's what you should, that's how I think most people should approach life. It's like you make a mistake, own up to it, and fix it. And that's what Woodbridge did on Saturday. They fixed the mistake. They obviously understand that people paid money. They're coming from out of state to run one of the best meets in the country, and you want it to be as close to what you envision it to be as possible. So, and the other part of this too is that Woodbridge has moved location in recent years. It's not in the same place it now is in the Orange County Great Park soccer complex. Still, I think you still have to build that, right? So it's not like you can go back to the well every year and say this is the same course every single time. It kind of changes, and maybe that's where sort of the issue comes into the place in the first place. Should they have kept it at 5K? Maybe, but honestly, I would have rather had the performances on Saturday at the actual distance, because that's what you came there to see, and anything other than that's kind of a letdown, I think. So I will say this, one other addition. When you make a mistake and you fix it, that's one thing. I think, but you got to accept the fact that people do come to this course to run fast. And I get that cross country is cross country. You want to run to compete, but you can't have it both ways. It can't only be about let's run to win, let's run the course. It can also be about let's run fast too. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. So if a team comes to California to run fast, that's okay. And I'm glad they made the decision to change course, and ultimately, great day, great performances. Bigger storyline from Woodbridge. Jane Hedegren winning, Evan Noonan's final mile and win, Harriman's ascendance, or the J. Sarah Catholic girls being the best California team.
Those are all almost on equal footing in a way. So many crazy things happen. I'm just checking my phone at the results, and I'm what is happening out here in California? I think I have to go with, this may be the simplest answer, but I think Jane Hedegren's win, just based on how that win came, was the most impressive to me. She outkicks Elizabeth Leachman, the sophomore from Texas, to log, I believe it was the fastest 3-mile ever in high school cross-country history, 15:32.5. Yes, that was 1:57 speed rating, and beat Leachman by a 1/10 of a second, which is absolutely insane. And if you watch some of the highlights of that race too, I think what's most impressive to me are the tactics that she employed. She let Leachman go out and lead that race early on and do a lot of the dirty work, right? But then over those last miles, she just kind of sat on her shoulder in a way, and then she trusted her kick there to just barely get ahead of Leachman there at the line. So to me, I feel like that that makes it even more impressive to me, just the way she ran that race. It was pretty, masterfully executed. And then I also want to mention, too, even if you're looking at the girls' race in general, you had, I believe, 9 athletes under 16 minutes for 3 miles. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, and Leishman, real deal, right?
I know. I feel like, maybe some people, you're looking at the online...
Patriot Invitational earlier, and, there wasn't really a 5K.
Exactly, yeah, and I feel like people on, some of the online threads were like, who is this Leishman person? Is this legit? I think this solidly can show that she is absolutely legit.
Yeah, took it to Hedengren on Saturday. Got to walk away happy there. All the girls in that top 10, I would think, can walk away satisfied. These are all great storylines. I mean, we wish we could talk about all of them, but we got to pick, obviously. And I'm going to go with Harriman again. I just have to reiterate just how crazy a switch this program has made over the last couple of years under Sol. Harriman was a good team before Sol's. Their highest finish at state was second in 2017. In recent years, they've gotten to state. They've performed well. They had a girls champion, Eddie Bruning, in 2021. But once Sol's, they're a different team.
Yeah.
Their I think ambition is so much higher. Only fourth at states last year, but second at regions, third at nationals, and this year it feels like they're coming after everything. They're coming after that state title. They're coming after regions. They're coming after nationals, and Woodbridge was another reminder that this team is here to party.
To party.
Honestly, they ran fantastically, through that whole group, and it's a credit to the work ethic and the training and all that stuff. It's a credit to Sols. It's a credit to the Utah high school for buying into that whole concept and allowing them to succeed. So Harriman, great story right now, and rankings are coming out today. Harriman #1 in the team rankings after their last couple of weeks, so they've earned it. One last thing from Woodbridge, a result that you saw that will make a difference come November.
Now, this may be something kind of under the radar, but I saw the results and I'm like, I think this is really important for this team going forward. Alexandra Fox from Flower Mound, she is off to a great start this season, and she finishes as the team's #1 runner. Now, last year she was consistently their #3 runner behind Sam and Nicole Humphreys, but she runs 16:23, just ahead of Sam Humphreys there at Woodbridge, and I think that's going to be really, really crucial, right? Flower Mound's going to be one of these teams that's competing for a national title. They're going to be wanting to finish well as a team, both at states and nationals. And I think if last year there was a little bit of a gap, I believe, between Sam and Nicole and then Alex back at their #3. But if she's running the exact same times as, those two sisters there, I think that's really crucial for Flower Mound if they're going to be able to beat some of these other teams, like South Lake Carroll and in Texas and that sort of stuff. So we're still waiting for Nicole to open up as well for her season, but once those three are back into it, I think we could really see what they're capable of this year.
Very, very foxy. On the other side, I think gotta give a shout out to Great Oaks boys. We just talked about Sols, and once he left that program, he was the only coach they ever had. They brought in Tammy Drawin, and it's natural to think, is there going to be a transition of ways? Is there going to be a downturn a little bit? No. This year might have been the year, but they have flatly refused to have a downturn. Great Oak has turned out a great start to the season so far. Cool Breeze win, third here. They ran awesome. I mean, Great Oak is the kind of school that has resources. 3,100 students at Great Oak High School, so they're not hurting for numbers and running, but really, you have to create a culture. And even after it seems like Sol's left, that culture persists under Jahan, and she's done a great job sort of recapturing it and bringing them, continuing to have them up at the spotlight in California cross country. They were second in states last year. I think they have a chance to win it again this year. So Great Oak, great performance at Woodbridge, and I think that'll matter come November. We're going to now get to the three big things we saw this weekend, starting first with a showcase at the Southern Showcase in Alabama.
Well, we know Huntsville, it's a very fast course, and I think we saw that happen this weekend at the Southern Showcase. And I think my biggest takeaway here is, looking at the boys race, Bell and Jesuit boys from Florida, they are absolutely legit. They go to Huntsville and they go 1-7, 16, 18, and 42 to win the boys championship race with just 73 points. Looked like some rainy conditions there as well. They beat out New Orleans Jesuit, who's one of our top teams in those early season MileSplit 50 rankings, and they beat them by 51 points. It's a pretty wide margin there. And their team leader too, Joshua Ruiz. I don't know if I'm a little surprised by his time, to be honest. I mean, he ran a U.S. #1 time of 14:38, and they're, they have a freshman too on their team, Marcelo Mantecan. He finishes 9th in 14:52. And to go a little bit more into Ruiz, that was his first time ever under 15 minutes for 5K, and he runs a 14:38 like U.S. #1 time, which is insane.
Yeah.
So
picked a good time.
Exactly.
No other course is going to offer you what John Hunt Park offers.
That's for sure.
Mantecan too, top freshman time at 5K.
Yep.
All-time passing Keegan Smith, who was in this race. Bellin's good, and I got a couple texts after the race saying, they're good. They're definitely good. I don't think the sky's falling. If you lose to Bellin Jesuit, I think New Orleans Jesuit and Farragut are still really good too. They won 2-3. Also, New Orleans Jesuit wasn't with Michael Fockey, so with him in the lineup, they're a little different too. But I think my takeaway here is just the Southeast, the star power there. Some of these names I think we'll see down the line. Miles Raymer, 14:39. Ethan Edgeworth, Miles Raymer, 14:39. Edgeworth, 14:40. Tommy Latham, 14:41. Jake Liebert, 14:43. Smith, 14:49. When you get to John Hunt Park on a good day, I think anything can happen, especially when you put fast guys there together. We saw that, I think, 2 years ago in 2021 at the championships when you put the best teams in the country there. It was just amazing. Like 40-some guys under 15 minutes is just a place that people go to run fast. Liebert's an interesting case. He was 6th at Running Lane last year. He also ran at the Southern Showcase last year, and he improved upon his best there. So Liebert is a top guy if you kind of want to use him as like a pivot. Where am I comparably? Mm-hmm. Liebert is a guy to look at because he's had success at that course before. And then just the girls too. 5 girls under 18 minutes, 30 girls under 19. Just crossing our fingers for December that there's good weather and we're not going to get doused with rain again.
I was going to say, I hope not, because that was a little disappointing last year that it was just, it rained that whole morning.
Yeah. It was soggy. Next topic here is the Adidas XC Challenge, biggest storyline we're taking away from this race.
Well, shoot, I think there are a lot of storylines here as well, similar to Southern Showcase and Woodbridge, but I think the biggest one has to be Ty Stewart. I mean, I think he may be one of the most underrated guys in the country at this point. He runs a U.S. #2, 14:38, I believe just a tenth of a second behind what Joshua Ruiz put up at the Southern Showcase, and he earned a 192 speed rating, wins the Adidas Cross Country Challenge. Sure, Wake Med, very fast course. There's a big hill you have to go up twice, but overall I believe it's like a net downhill course. So overall, good course, but I mean, he took down a very competitive field as well. So I think Stewart's is going to be a guy to look out for.
Hurricane.
Yes.
Not hurricane.
Hurricane?
Hurricane.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't make that mistake again.
Yeah, and I was honestly pretty surprised at the times here
me too.
at Wake Med. I know it's fast, but
I didn't know it was that fast because I ran that course all through high school. Like, I've seen some really fast... I've seen Caitlin Toohey run there, like, all that stuff. And, I've never seen, I don't think on the guys' side, like, a time that crazy like that. And that many guys, too, like, underneath 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's looking at times 10 years ago compared to now.
Yeah. It's
just a different time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that's a matter of just all of the sport is better or it's a little bit of the shoes. I'm not quite sure, but something is happening, and Wake Med is now fast. It's definitely fast. And I think, looking at this on the girls' side, Cardinal Gibbons, yet again, dominant win here. Hannah Ray Sheffer, dominant individual win. I think looking forward to the postseason in North Carolina, I think Cuthbertson has to be a little scared at this point, or concerned. Maybe not scared, but concerned of Gibbons, because Gibbons was 49 points off of Cuthbertson last year. They've gotten so much better. Mm-hmm. They're number 3 in the country right now at 5K average, 18:06. And their 3, 4, and 5 are only 10 seconds separated from one another. They're all under 19 minutes.
See, that's the key there, right? You have your 3, 4, and 5 all there right there together. That means that you're going to be able to have your 3, your last scorers passing a whole bunch of people from other teams to getting, better score. So
does Gibbons beat Cuthbertson this year?
You're going to put me on the spot for that?
No, we can move forward. All right. Ritzing through the nation, Addison Ritzenhein, historic course best at St. Vrain. What do you think happened here?
Well, I kind of want to quote our MileSplit Colorado editor, Bobby Reyes, here. He texted us after this race, and he said, quote, Addison Ritzenhein will be top 5 at Nationals this year. Big statement, but I think I think it's a legit statement. You know, she ran 17:35 on a very tough course. Sub 18, I believe, has only happened there once before. She smashes the course record by nearly 20 seconds. And again, she's only a sophomore. So, you know, she is in, you know, it's still early season, but she's obviously showing that her fitness is there. And, you know, Bobby, too, said that she made it look like a walk in the park.
Yeah, the proverbial jump, I think there's no better year to make it than sophomore year for her. And quite clearly, she has made it with St. Vrain. She was really good last year. And, you know, she had a great season. Second at state, top 10 at regions, All-American at NXN. I think with her, you know, obviously having a famous father running for a famous program, it's about, like, finding progression when you can get it and not overwhelming somebody like that. All intents and purposes, it looks like she's really flowing nicely through the whole transition of age and maturity and all that stuff. 66 seconds better than last year on the same course. I think the biggest thing for me, like watching her interview, I think she's probably still getting comfortable with running at an elite level and trying to identify why and how. And you just have to learn that over time as you run more and more and compete and win. And you get all this insight around you. I think, you know, she'll start to sort of come to terms with, I am this great athlete. Now why am I doing it? What are the processes that keep getting me better? I think that's the thing and that's the good part about, you know, elite runners. We want to see all that stuff happen with Ritzenhein. I think plenty of time to show it for her. All right, we're moving on to a new topic, different than a couple weeks back. We're only going stock up this time. No stock down. Learned from our mistakes here. Stock up. After further review, changing this entirely. Ashley, let's go to you first.
Well, stock up for me, I'm going to begin with, we already mentioned him on the show, but Joshua Ruiz of Bell and Jesuit Prep. Again, he had never broken 15 minutes before for the 5K. He goes to the Southern Showcase in Huntsville, runs a U.S. number 1, 14:38.7, crushes that, 15-minute mark by 20, over 20 seconds. Like, that's just remarkable. I think he's going to be a guy we really have to watch going forward.
I like that one. I'm going to go with the J. Sarah girls. I will admit I was wrong about J. Sarah not being the best team in California right now. They are the best team in California after a 17 flat average and a second place finish at Woodbridge. Their coach, Chase Fraser, said in a post-race interview that his team is looking to build upon last year's finish at, just state and nationals. I think that's sort of what they're hunting for, and they're really on a good path so far. So J. Sarah for me.
All right, next one. I know we already mentioned them again. Cardinal Gibbons girls. Again, I think we need to really emphasize here that they're really off to a historic start. They opened up, I believe, at Knights Crossing in Virginia. Perfect score there to win. You don't see a perfect score in cross country very often. Then they stay in-house in Raleigh and go to Adidas, and they destroy the field. And again, there were a lot of talented teams and even individuals in that field, a much bigger race there at Adidas, and they scored only 45 points, and they won the team race by nearly 70 points. And it helps too when your number one runner wins the race. Hannah Ray Schaefer, she wins overall at the mark of 17:18. So I think they're another team that we've probably underrated going into the season, but I would expect them to definitely move up the rankings going forward.
Yeah. Bentonville's boys out of Arkansas last week published a story on Deer Creek out of Oklahoma. They're trying to enter into the discussion of the top teams in the South region. Bentonville's on that same direct sort of street. They want to also move up the South region. They also want to unseat a Texas Power down the season. They've won a lot of state championships in Arkansas. I think it's 6 straight now in their division in the state. So the next step for them is getting past state, seeing if they can get to nationals as a team. And right now they're running amazingly well up front. And James American Horse, is it almost feels like he's running a little conservatively to make sure he's running with his team faster overall. So they're number 2 in the country in a 5K average right now, 15:23, but really like their progression.
My next stock up here, this was one I was kind of surprised to see this past weekend, but I think the stock is definitely up for this guy here, and that's Colin Whitaker out of Pennsylvania. He runs the second fastest 5K time in the whole, Pennsylvania state history, which is pretty remarkable. At the Adidas Cross Country Challenge, he placed second overall in the boys championship race to Ty Stewart's. He runs 14:42. He is now only behind Gary Martin on the state history list, so the state record there is 14:24, but Whitaker makes the trip down to North Carolina, and he gets that really fast mark, so that was pretty cool.
And where did Gary Martin break his state best 5K mark?
You're asking the wrong person.
Running lane. I'm assuming.
Actually, yeah, that makes sense with 14:24. That's a pretty insane time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last one here for stock up. I'm going to give it to two guys. Marion's Dylan Nally out of Illinois, and Dana Hills' Evan Noonan. Noonan's having a great start to his season with his win at Woodbridge and the reported last mile time of 4:17 to finish off the boys sweepstakes race. I mean,
that's insane.
Number 3 mile time in history. 4:17. Go on.
Just imagine running 4:17 in your last mile of a 3-mile cross country race.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often at all. Again, because it's the last mile, not the opening mile.
Yeah.
The last mile.
Last mile. Yeah. The Woodbridge split actually had him at 4:08, but it was reported later it was 4:17. So yeah, I was a little surprised too. I was like, what?
He's got some leg speed.
Yeah. But Noonan in California, and then Nally in Illinois. Props to him because he went after the Detweiler record this week at Richard Spring Invitational, and I'm going to read some excerpts from Tony Jones's story because they're great. I love it. I love the writing. The buzz among the massive crowd was stirring as Nally bolted ahead of the 600-plus field size. He hit the opening half mile around 2:10, and the first mile in 4:29. With his father barking out instructions to keep the pressure on, Nally entered the Bermuda Triangle with his foot squarely on the gas pedal. He ended up running 14 flat, but if we look at Nally now compared to Josh Methner in 2019, Methner was roughly like 12 seconds slower at this point on the same course, and he ended up with top 3-mile time in Detweiler history at the end of the season. So really thinks Nally has some time to get better and maybe go after that time yet again come state. All right, top 3 national contenders at this very moment. Who are the girls for you?
Okay, I feel like my top 2 are like pretty, maybe one's a hot take, pretty solid, and then the third one I'll have to explain. My number 1 is Jane Hendegren. I feel like it's pretty safe to say right now, and even going into the season, right, I think most of us all believe like she is going to be up there and being one of the favorites to be a national title contender, and she won Woodbridge last weekend, fastest 3-mile in high school cross country history, so I feel like that's a safe bet right there.
Yeah.
Number 2, again, Elizabeth Leachman, obviously she's already ran really fast and has those races underneath her belt early on in the season, but I'm going to put my bet on her that's going to carry on through the season because, when you run the second fastest 3-mile time in history, I feel like that's got to put you up there in the conversation as well. Now, my third one, maybe it's a hot take, but now I'm thinking about it now, maybe it's not. I think Peyton Godsey of Oaks Christian in California will be a national title contender as well. Now, she finished, I believe, 15th at Woodbridge this past weekend, so maybe not quite the performance she was looking for.
Right.
But we saw her run, at Running Lane last year. We've seen what she's done at the California State meet. And I think she's one where she always is able to put together a good race come end of season at whether it's states or nationals. So I think you're going to have to watch out for Peyton Godsey.
I'll offer 2 girls here.
Okay.
I want your thoughts on it. Rachel Forsyth, Ann Arbor Pioneer.
That's a good one.
And then Sadie.
Yeah, I feel like I thought about putting Sadie on this list, but I'm like, man, then I'm just going to put the top 3 from Woodbridge, and that doesn't seem fair. I had to throw in a
Godsey ran at Woodbridge.
But she finished outside of the top 3.
Okay.
That would have been the top 3 at Woodbridge on my list. But Sadie always has to be in the conversation. She's a gamer. She's always going to be one of those top athletes. And I like Rachel Forsyth as well. She just ran, I believe, a 153 speed rating out at the MSU Spartan Invitational over the weekend.
I do think Hedengren probably is the girl to beat at this point,
based
on everything that we've seen over the last 6 months. So, yeah, I do like that list. It's hard. It's hard to come up with those names. Sorry. On the boys' side, here are the guys that I'm going to go with, and obviously I want your thoughts too. Daniel Simmons of American Fork, I think the guy everybody's trying to beat, prohibitive favorite to win nationals. Clay Shively of Wichita Trinity opened his season at Olathe West with a remarkable time. State best in Kansas, 14:41, I think. And then Dylan Nally. After this weekend,
I mean, hey, why not?
Methner won a national title the same year he set the Detweiler record. If Nally keeps on that road, I think he has a chance. I mean, Midwestern athletes at Foot Locker have had great strength and a great history there. If we're thinking NXN or Foot Locker, we're kind of have to like hedging the bets here. But what are your thoughts?
I actually think that's a pretty solid list. I think obviously your guy number one, Danny Simmons, I think he's definitely kind of like Jane. He's definitely the favorite. I love the Clay Shively pick because I think he was underrated going into this season, but he literally almost broke 4 minutes in the mile during the spring, so I think that's a good pick as well, and he's already opened up really well. I like Dylan there too. I think that's a good, he has a really good performance, and it's showing that he could probably run really fast come end of season. I'm trying to look at a list here and throw out some other names. How about, Drew Griffith?
Yeah, yes.
I think this is going to be his year. DeCola's gone. He can lead the state here, potentially.
My one worry with PA guys is they don't face the talent needed once they get to the national race. That's going to be like, all right, I've grinded against the best. I know what it felt like to lose or to win, and I'm going to tap into that again. Yeah. I feel like sometimes those guys get to the highest meets and they're like, I'm on a different level now, and then what do I do? So I worry a little bit about experience, but he did run a Foot Locker last year, so maybe him, maybe. Now I'm just looking at a list, and it's like there's so many guys here that are the same. What's your next best hope?
My next best hope?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really liking Ty Stewart's after his run.
Okay.
He's usually does really well, I think, when it comes to nationals. He's a gamer.
I think it's possible. Irene won NXN out of West Virginia last year. We'll see. Yeah. I think there are a lot of guys that probably, if they are going to compete for a national title, they might not be expected. Yeah. They're not going to be names that we know ahead of time.
I feel like compared to last year, there were a lot of maybe a solid 5 names on the guys side that were all right, these are the guys that they're not going to be they're going to be top 5 at nationals. But I feel like this year it's you have Danny Simmons, and then almost it's the rest of the field you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the national meet of the week. It's the Wingfoot XC Classic in Cartersville. Returns for the 8th season. It's the 8th time they're racing there at that meet out in the fields, hosted by the Atlanta Track Club. Last year I was at this race, and I saw what they were able to do on Friday night. It was an absolute party, absolute DJ, vibes all over the place. It was great. They went up until 11 p.m. It was crazy that all these kids were still dancing on Friday night. It was insane. DJ rocks long into the night. Georgia's top contenders will be there. Over 5,300 athletes are scheduled to run Friday and Saturday at the Wingfoot XC Classic. Let's start with the top storyline our eyes are on heading into the race, Ashley.
Well, going into this, I think the biggest storyline has to be, Claire Stegall is going to be in this race at Wingfoot. She's from, out of Tennessee, incredible talent, one of the top girls in the country. She's going to be making her cross-country season debut. She had a stellar track season in the spring where she ran 2:09 for 800, 4:39 for the mile, and then last year she ran 17:08 for 5K. And, she's not only, I think, going to look to win this race, but I think she's going to look to put up a really solid time as well. Again, this is her season opener, but this is going to be a great field for her to compete against. But, she won't be alone either. There will be other challengers there, I believe. Ruby Little won the title last year. She'll be back, so your defending champion is back. And then Caitlin Dollar of Creekview, she's also gone consistently around 17:30 for 5K, so she could potentially be a challenger as well.
Really excited to see Claire run.
Me too.
I'm
big
fan of her. I think she'll get after it. We'll get into the records shortly.
Yes.
But on my side of things, I think that one of the bigger storylines on that same race, the girls' race, is probably the amount of top teams entered in Georgia. Number 1 5K average right now is entered Marist Girls, 1854. Number 3 team based on average, Pace Academy, 1901. And then we have number 4 Pope, number 5 Walton, and number 7 Blessed Trinity. So it's going to be a pretty stacked race all around. Over 200 athletes, in the championship field there, and I think we'll get really, really good team battle that could have some ramifications down the line in Georgia. Now, Georgia has 7 classifications, so they probably don't all face each other at the state championships. But all that being said, it's going to be a great, great race. Team title last year on the girls' side decided by just 9 points. So, historically, this race really gets down to the wire. So that's one thing we're going to watch out for. Now, course records on the girls' side.
Yes.
What do you think Stegall does if she wins?
Well, let me throw this out there. The course record, Kelsey Camille, at NC State now, was a very, New York legend back in the day. Course record 17:17. Well, we know Claire Stegall has a 17:08 5K best. So, and sure, it's her season opener, but why not? I think she's definitely, if anyone can challenge that record, it's going to be Claire, because I think she has, especially, if it comes down to the end in a foot race and she's really trying to go after a course record, she has that 4:39 mile speed underneath her.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm not going to say yes, absolutely it's going to go down, but I think there is a solid chance.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say about the course, Sam Smith Park. Mm-hmm. It's fast-ish.
Fast-ish?
Yes.
Okay, I think I know what you're getting at, yeah. Mm-hmm. 17's fast. Yeah, but it's not sub 17.
Right.
Yeah.
1450 is fast on the guy's side, but people have run faster.
Yep.
A lot of turns. I think it's 2 laps. Mostly it kind of comes back around.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't give you any long sections.
You can't
where
always
you just,
accelerate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there are obviously some hills and some even hay bales and things like that. So it's fast-ish. So I'll say that that being said, I think Stegall will go after 17 minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
I think so.
Yeah.
We've seen it done by multiple girls, and she's really talented, so I could definitely see her going after that. On the guy's side, Tommy Latham is the guy to beat from Marist. He comes in seated at 14:41. He's gone sub 15 in his first 2 races already this season. He's 20 seconds faster than the next best seed. You're seeing this race play out from last year. That's Joe Sapone and our guy from Auburn, who's now at Auburn. Great race last year. Now, as I said, fast-ish course, but I think Latham is really capable to go after Jacob McLeod's 1450 record from 2018. McLeod was a good guy in high school, ended up getting the Foot Locker Nationals. 1450 ended up being the fastest time he ran that year. The same with Sam Bowers, who ran just 0.03 of a second slower than him in that same race. Very fast race. Sapone last year ran 15:06, but it was a battle overall. Latham's going to be by himself, and the only deterrent here maybe is that he's run super fast already, and you're allowed to have a downtime.
Yeah.
You're allowed to have one kind of off moment. That being said, I think he's going to win the race, and Marist has a opportunity to win the team title too, and it'll just be a fun overall experience. Wingfoot XC Classic. They make it a party out there. I also think Will Sumner's going to be there. He IG'd about it. He's like, "Hey fam, I'm going to be at Wingfoot XC Classic."
There you go.
He's an Adidas athlete now.
That's right.
Yeah, I think I saw Will Sumner's going to be there. So
interesting.
It'll be fun. Yeah, there'll be some pros there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's this episode of On the Line. Thanks for tuning in. We should be back next week with more high school cross country news and everything you need to know. Thanks for watching.